Donald Trump will do anything to divert attention from the Epstein files, whether that means posting unhinged rants, staging reckless stunts, shutting down the government, or even tearing down parts of the White House itself. His goal is simple: get the media to stop talking about Epstein. And unfortunately, most of the mainstream press has complied. It's really only independent outlets and a few voices like Lawrence O'Donnell who continue to push for accountability. But now, the story has taken an even darker turn, because people inside Trump's own White House are beginning to admit that a cover-up is underway. Even some of his top aides are reportedly acknowledging it. We're going to unpack all of it. But before we do, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps support our work. Now, before we dive into the admissions coming from Trump's inner circle, let's start with Lawrence O'Donnell, who recently broke down how Donald Trump is using this shutdown to bury the Epstein story and keep the truth from coming out. Take a look.
I have a shutdown because you are too scared of the truth. The shutdown appeared to be about budget issues at the beginning, but as it drags on with absolutely no attempt to negotiate those budget issues, you have a right to wonder what it is really about. And with the Speaker of the House using the government shutdown as an excuse for not swearing in the newest elected member of the House of Representatives who would become the decisive vote in the House to release the Epstein files, gives Congressman Garcia more than enough evidence to reasonably argue that, quote, we now have a shutdown because you are too scared of the truth. If the shutdown is not about the Epstein files, then prove it. Speaker Johnson can swear in the newest elected member of the House of Representatives tomorrow, Adelita Grijalva. And the only reason he is not doing that is that she would then immediately become the decisive vote to release the Epstein files. Technically, she would become the 218th signature on a so-called discharge petition, which forces a vote in the House of Representatives on releasing the Epstein files, a vote everyone knows will pass. And so Donald Trump travels the world avoiding any possible negotiation to end the shutdown, because the shutdown shuts down the Epstein files. Donald Trump proves the pointlessness of his world travels whenever he talks about them. Today on Air Force One, after his meetings in China, he told reporters something that would be unthinkable for any other president in that situation. He said, quote, Taiwan never came up. It was not discussed. Today, over 20 survivors of the abuse visited upon them by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell urged the House of Representatives to swear in the newest elected member of the House and allow her to become the deciding vote on the Epstein files. Their statement says, the continued refusal to seat her is an unacceptable breach of democratic norms and a disservice to the American people. Even more concerning to us as survivors, this delay appears to be a deliberate attempt to block her participation in the discharge petition that would force a vote to unseal the Epstein-Maxwell files. The American public has a right to transparency and accountability, and we, as survivors, deserve justice. Any attempt to obstruct a vote on this matter by manipulating House procedure or denying elected members their seats is a direct affront to that right and adds insult to our trauma. Speaker Johnson must stop using procedural tactics to protect the powerful and instead uphold the integrity of our democratic institutions. Our trauma is not a pawn in your political games. Every day you stall is another day survivors are denied justice and the American people are denied the truth. Swear in Representative Grijalva and let democracy speak.
Adelita Grijalva has now become the longest representative-elect. It has been more than a month since she won her election, and it is very clear that not only is this about preventing the Epstein files from coming out, this is a dry run for Mike Johnson. You don't think that Donald Trump will dispute every single close congressional election in a midterms in which he'll get mollywobbed, but it could come down to a couple of seats. Do you think Donald Trump won't tell Mike Johnson that he's not allowed to swear anyone and that we have to wait? That things have to be contested? There's seriously not been enough outrage about this. It's insane. And of course, it is also because of Epstein. It couldn't be more transparent that Donald Trump is terrified of this vote. And it's also because, as I've heard from many members of Congress, including Hockey Jeff, that he believes there will be at least 40, 50, 60 Republicans voting to release the Epstein files when it comes to the floor. And that is why Donald Trump has to distract. It's why he has to keep the government shut down. And even his aides are admitting that now. How Trump aides mock him behind his back. Donald Trump's pet project has been referred to by some people in the White House as the Epstein Ballroom. According to the president's biographer, Michael Wolff, speaking on the Daily Beast podcast, Inside Trump's Head, recounted one White House insider's admission about how the dead offender and former Trump pal is never really going away. I had this conversation the day before yesterday with somebody, a White House circle person in the middle of all of this. Wool72 told co-host Joan Coles, "We were just talking. And this is a person I've gotten to know over quite a long period of time, so we're quite friendly. And it was just catching up. This person is just sort of going over what's happening in his world, which is to say Trump world. And he referred to something called the Epstein Ballroom without prompting from me." Wolf went on. So I said, "Wait, the Epstein Ballroom? That's what you're calling it?" And he was kind of sheepish at the moment, but then he said, "Well, you know, it has come up more than a few times." Wolf, with whom Epstein analyzed his friendship with Trump in a 2017 interview, said the comment revealed a few things within the White House. I think that there are 2 points about this. That the ballroom itself is regarded as bordering on preposterous, and this awareness that Epstein is everywhere in the Trump world, and that in fact, everything is a distraction from Epstein, Wool said. Another takeaway Wool said was that there are some in the White House who at least have a sense of self-awareness and irony. "They're not Stephen Miller," Wolf said, referring to the deputy chief of staff. "They're not walking into this blind. Now, of course, they are not walking out of this, which is, I think, a key point. But nevertheless, they are there. And I've found this across writing 4 books about Trump, that there is kind of a captive world around him that is kind of clear-eyed." White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, 28, said earlier this month that the ballroom was Trump's main priority. The controversial construction project, which currently has a price tag of $300 million, will be reportedly named after the president, but some online commentators have since joked that a more fitting name would involve Epstein. Apparently, that sentiment has been echoed inside the administration. "I think it will be officially the Trump Ballroom," Wolf said, but unofficially, mordantly, the Epstein Ballroom. When reached for comment, the White House disputed Wolf's credibility. Michael Wolff is a lying sack of and has proven to be a fraud. Communications Director Stephen Chung told the Daily Beast he routinely fabricates stories originating from his sick and warped imagination, only possible because he has a severe and debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome that has rotted his peanut-sized brain. So yes, the government is shut down. The social media rants are getting even more unhinged. The stunts are becoming more absurd, and SNAP benefits are running out, all because Donald Trump wants it that way. It doesn't have to be like this. There are billions already allocated for emergency funding, but Trump seems to prefer letting people suffer. And at the center of it all is Jeffrey Epstein. That's what this is really about. The mainstream media should be digging deeper into this story, because if there were open votes or public access to the Epstein files, we'd all be talking about them. But since the topic has been buried and pushed to the edges of public conversation, attention has drifted away. Exactly as Trump intended. Every new distraction, every chaotic stunt serves one purpose: to pull focus away from the truth. Yes, the shutdown matters, but it has to be understood in context. This isn't just about Epstein. It's also about destroying faith in government itself. Trump's strategy has always been to break the system through mass layoffs, corruption, and chaos, so that people stop believing government can work for them. But that's wrong. Government can work for ordinary Americans, not just for billionaires and the corrupt elites Trump protects. And that's why we have to push back against the lies and racist narratives MAGA continues to spread, especially around programs like SNAP. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett called out exactly that in this powerful clip right here.
I agree that there are too many American people that are on SNAP benefits, but that means that you got to not look necessarily at SNAP. You got to look at the reasons that they're on SNAP. We know that over 1/4 of these people that are in receipt of SNAP benefits are actually the working poor in this country, right? We have not increased the minimum wage, and I don't know when, and the minimum wage still sits at $7 while everything else is going up, whether we're talking about the cost of food or whether we're talking about the cost of rent or whether we're talking about the cost to actually try to engage in home ownership, if we're talking about the interest rates. And we know that under the failed leadership of this administration, this country has seen a loss of 1 million jobs, and that's just in the first few months. He's not even had a full year. So no, we need to work on economic policies that will put people into a position in which they are not the working poor, where they are still needing the $6 a day to eat. So yes, we need to talk about it, but I don't think that SNAP is the problem. I think that that is the resolution, or at least that is a symptom of the problem. We have a bigger problem in which we have billionaires that are continuing to rise up every single day and are getting richer and richer, to the extent that there was talk about Elon becoming a trillionaire, the first one in this country or in the world. Yet we still have people that have to go to the food bank and go to work, that have to sit there and go to make sure that they've got money on their SNAP and EBT cards. Like, that's a problem, and I do think that we need to address it.
This is the richest country on earth. Making sure people can eat shouldn't be a controversy. Whenever someone asks, who's going to pay for it? My answer is simple: my tax dollars. And I'm glad to contribute so people don't starve. That's literally one of the core purposes of government, not building gilded ballrooms funded by billionaire donations. And why do those billionaires write six-figure checks for Trump events? Because it's easier to give $3 million for a ballroom than actually bring manufacturing and jobs back to America. Tariffs won't fix that. And Trump won't either. It's a shortcut to influence. So to any future Democratic president, don't be intimidated by these corporations and wealthy donors. They're not as invincible as they act. Stand up to them. Bring a little force, a little justice, and fight for policies that actually help people. We'll keep pushing this on the show. If you want to support the work, please subscribe and leave a like. If you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.